let's kick things off with a story of fill styles, or most commonly, they're going to be color styles. So when you're working on a new project, be the one where you're defining every single color that's going to be used, or every type of fill that's going to be used, or you already have brand guidelines, so you have to follow those and kind of create certain shades from it. Styles are basically your building blocks, and ideally all of your elements that you're going to use in design are going to be filled with those styles. So if we just create a simple rectangle like this, let's just make it like that. When you go in here under fill, whatever fill you pick, that's going to be the fill that you can then create a style from. So let's say that we have a pretty common brand color like this. It's a blue one, and for the purposes of this project, you know that it's a mobile app, you're most likely not going to need a lot of different shades of it. You can maybe have one darker tone of blue. You might also need a couple of these lighter ones, maybe for some kind of strokes or something. And let's also add one more. That's going to be a really light one and a really desaturated one. Hopefully you can see it in here. And that should be enough. Maybe I'm going to make this a little bit lighter based on how I know what needs I often have with projects that are mobile apps. So yeah, you have 4 shades of blue. And when it comes to styles, to create a style, you have to go here under fill. You have color styles in here. You can add a new one. And let's call this one primary, because it's going to be our primary color. And most often what you're going to see in a lot of design systems, in a lot of companies that are having some kind of rule sets on the way that they name and organize things in design, you're going to see that they would attach numbers to these colors. A different approach would be to just call this like blue mid, and then have like blue darker and then blue darkest. But that naming, we're kind of trying to describe what color it is, can often not be flexible enough, especially if you're going to have more and more shades with time as the time goes on. So what I like to do, I like to create the main shade of this color as the one that I name 500, kind of the middle point of everything. All of the darker ones are then going to go from like 600, 700, 800, 900, and all of the lighter ones are going to be like 400, 300, 200, 100, and maybe if you need that lightest shade, you're going to name it 50 or something. But that's kind of the reason why I do it is so that it's really easy to communicate with developers. You just say like, no, let's use primary 700 in here, and like everyone knows what it is. It's also connected to design tokens, which is something that I'm going to explain a little bit more in the module where we're going to go over building a basic design system. But just so you know, you can basically call this like blue if you want to. I'm already starting to introduce some of the logic of naming things in design already in here in our styles module. So we have primary, we call this one 500. I can call this one honestly, and when I'm naming things, I just kind of copy all of this in here, and you can call it 600, 700. Since I have just a couple of those, I do like to make it like a bigger difference than it might be. And in here, I'm going to call this one a 200 and this one 100. Now, the styles are going to appear when you have nothing selected in here. So you can see now we have this color styles, which wasn't previously here, and you can expand them if needed. What I like to do is I like to organize them by the shade actually. So I do it like this from like top to bottom or bottom to top, whatever you prefer. Then let's take this color. You can detach a style by hitting this icon in here, and then you're able to kind of change it without it impacting anything else. Most often in mobile app projects, you're gonna have a need for something like red. So I'm gonna move into HSB because I do prefer that a little bit. And let's maybe use a little bit desaturated version of the red. When you're planning colors that you're going to use in your app, like do test the contrast and everything. Right now, for the demo purposes, I'm trying to be as quick as possible. And actually, before naming it, I will duplicate it so that we can create a couple more shades if needed. For this one, maybe we're just going to need something like really, really light in this area. And maybe we're just going to need one darker version in probably something in here. So I'm pretty much doing it just by looking at it and trying to figure out the differences between this shade and kind of make it align with everything that we have. But when you're planning this, there are other tools that you can use. There are plugins that you can use to be able to create shades if color is something that you're insecure about. If you want to learn more about color, we do have a course on just color in UI design, which talks about everything that you need to know about color in theory, but also shows you a lot of in-practice stuff when it comes to working with color as a UX UI designer or product designer. So what I'm going to do in here, I'm going to call this one error or like warning or whatever you want to call it. And let's just follow the same naming rules in here as well. As you can see, I'm kind of already predicting based on all of my previous experience that I might introduce some other shades in the future in here. So I'm naming these with the flexibility of me adding another shade in between these two, or like introducing some other shades as well. But it's completely up to you if you'll just name this like 1, 2, 3, and then in the future add 4, and maybe the 4 is going to be somewhere in between 2 and 3, so you're going to switch the names for those. But if you do so and you already have some kind of a standard when you're talking with developers, do let them know about those changes. I don't like to create too many styles in the beginning, and honestly, when I'm first exploring design, I would create like 3 to 4 screens, trying to figure out like what are some tweaks that I still need to do. Will those colors work well together? And once I have a better idea of where I want to take these projects, then I'm gonna actually kind of define all of the styles. But again, since we're kind of demoing the process of this, just wanted to let you know about that and how these groups work. You can drag things from one group to the other, which is basically going to rename this style. And when you're working on a new object that you've designed, so let's say that this is some kind of a card and you want to add a fill to it, you can just reuse the styles that you have already designed. So we could have this as the background, and then maybe another element in here is gonna be like some kind of a button that we have, and this one is gonna be like that, and maybe then you can have text, or it can say button, and you can actually apply a style to that button too, to that text as well. So as you can see in here, you can now, you're unable to edit the actual like hue, saturation, brightness, hex, whatever you want to edit when it comes to that particular color. To be able to do so, you would need to go here in your styles and then hit edit, and then in here you're able to edit that style. What you're going to notice is like as you do those changes, they apply across all of your screens, so you can quickly see if it's working or not in all of the different use cases. And you can also use descriptions in here, especially if you're working with developers. And I'm gonna try to get this to the right shade, probably something like this. It's not going to be perfect, but I'm demoing how it works. You can also use descriptions to say like primary or something like reuse this color for errors, warnings, and icons that need to be noticed or something. And then when your developer inspects this, they can also see the description of this, and other designers are also able to see the description of that. So when you're in here, you have that, and you can see in here that we have this description. You can switch between different styles, you can detach it, and you can also switch between a grid and a list view. Depending on how many of those I'm going to have, I'm either going to prefer a list view if I don't have many, or grid view if I have a lot of different styles that I'm using in this project. When it comes to fill styles, or color styles as they're known, you can also have gradients as styles. So you can actually take this gradient in here, maybe do it like this so it's under an angle, and you can save it as a color style as well. Air gradient, 45-degree angle, and yeah, it appears in here as well. Finally, what you can also have is, if we go into our content reel, and if we place an image in here, apply, there's an image, we can go in here, and we can call this image avatar 1. And now we have the fill styles for images too. So keep in mind that like everything that you have in there is going to be saved to your fill. If you want to have multiple of these, maybe like that, then both of those are going to be image avatar 1, 2. Yeah, so you can see it basically saves all of the fill styles that you had in here, even if you have multiple of them, under one color style or fill style. So those are all of the things that are connected to color and fill styles. Let's move on to the text styles in the next video.